Hey everybody, real quick, if you need a recap of Loki Season 1, I've got you covered. Just hit the tab in the upper right-hand corner. It'll take you right to it. Now, Season 2 picks up right where Season 1 left off. Loki is running through the TVA because he's being chased by Mobius, who has no idea who he is, and Hunter B15. Loki gets cornered and he tries to explain to both of them, "It's me, you guys actually know who I am." But they think he's just a variant. He commandeers a ship that he eventually crashes into one of the buildings in the TVA, but he runs into another familiar face when he gets out of it, and it's Casey. And just like Mobius and Hunter B15, they don't know who he is either. At this point, Loki is really concerned. He has no idea what's going on, and then suddenly he just starts to kind of contort his body, and he's shifted to another multiverse. He's in the TVA, and he's in the same location he just was, but it's different. And this time, when Casey sees him, he recognizes him. Loki gets a clue on what's going on, though, when he looks down at the floor and there's a crack. A crack that he had just caused by crashing his vehicle into this location. Loki asks Casey, how long has that been there? And Casey tells him, it's been here as long as I can remember. And Loki is starting to put the pieces together that he must have been in the past, and now he's where he's supposed to be in the present. He asks Casey to take him to Mobius, but then suddenly he contorts and changes universes again. It's not like Casey knows what happened to Loki. He just stumbles up to Mobius and Hunter B15 and lets him know that Loki was looking for him. And they're very surprised to hear that Loki was there. But then they get called into the new Judges Council. It's run by General Dox and Judge Gamble. Just as Mobius and Hunter B15 head in the elevator, Loki comes back. He sees Casey, he asks where Mobius went, and Casey says they went to the war room. But on Loki's way to the war room, he once again switches universes. And this time, the war room he ends up in is the one in the past, and it's very different. This war room has statues of Kang or He Who Remains, whichever one you want to choose. Nobody's in it, but there is a tape of He Who Remains talking to Renslayer, saying how they're going to rule together. She's perfect. In the present-day war room, you've got Mobius and Hunter B15 having to answer for why exactly they're not pruning the timelines. Both Mobius and Hunter B15 explain everything about how it's all a farce. And Judge Gamble actually agrees with them after hearing them out. She's not going to order that the branches get pruned. She's just going to leave it as is. See what happens. Right after she makes this order, Loki glitches into the room. Loki is so relieved to see Mobius, and even more relieved when Mobius recognizes him. He starts to explain to Mobius that they found him, He Who Remains, the guy at the end of time. But he stops his story because he notices that the wall is different. Those statues of He Who Remains, they've been covered up. So Loki grabs a pruning stick off of one of the hunters, and he uses it on the wall to reveal the statues that have been hidden. He starts telling the entire room, that is who built this place, gesturing to the face. That guy right there stole your life, and that is who's coming back. Mobius starts taking Loki out of the room as Loki is saying, Sylvia was going to kill him, but I don't know where she is now. When Mobius and Loki leave the room, General Dox pulls that hunter aside and says, while the timekeepers were fake, their warnings are true. We need to know what happened at the end of time. We need to find out what happened with Sylvie. With Loki alone with Mobius, he starts explaining everything they found and everything that happened with Sylvie. He's really, really animated about this, and Mobius tries to talk him down. But Mobius just isn't understanding the warning that Loki's trying to give him about what's coming. When he starts explaining that He Who Remains built this entire place, Mobius says, no, I would have remembered that. I mean, how do I not remember that? And Loki tells him, because he wiped your memories, and clearly more than once. Mobius then gets to the issue of Loki just appearing in a room, and Loki starts explaining how he was in the past, but he doesn't honestly know how he got here. He's been glitching. As he's explaining this, he glitches out, but he comes back pretty quickly. Mobius wants to get Loki some help. He can't work like this, and he mentions how he's going to call Miss Minutes, but Loki stops him and says no, she's in on it. She was there with him at the end of time. You can't trust her. If Mobius can't trust Miss Minutes, he's going to take Loki to Repairs and Advancement, all the way down in the basement. And in Repairs and Advancement, there is one man working whose name, Ouroboros, but he goes by OB for short. The last time he had a visitor was 400 years ago, and it turns out it was actually Mobius, although Mobius doesn't remember any of it. OB seems like a super nice guy, and they start explaining the issue with Loki, and present-day OB knows exactly what's going on. He tells them that what's happening to Loki is called time slipping, but he doesn't know how to solve it. And as he's explaining this, Loki time slips to the past. Since he's in the same room, he's with OB. And he starts explaining to OB the issue. And it turns out that Loki, being in the past, is helping present-day OB figure out how to stop it. Because as Loki is telling past OB, present-day OB is suddenly having those memories. It's like they're flooding into him on what this is, how to fix it. And what they're going to need is a temporal aura extractor. That's going to help get Loki to stop time slipping. But in order to execute it, it's really difficult. Loki's going to have to violently rip himself from every thread of time and space. Once that happens, the extractor will pull him to present day. But Mobius is going to have to be outside using that extractor. And if he takes too long, his skin will literally peel away, which doesn't sound that enticing to Mobius. As present-day OB is explaining this to both Mobius and OB, his light starts flickering, and he mentions how it's been doing that all day. And Mobius says, no, we've been having power issues all day. And OB gets real serious and says, what did you say? Because he knows that that's not good. With no visitors and nothing but time, he's read every manual on the TVA. For the first time in God knows how long, OB heads upstairs. Mobius, OB, Loki, they meet up with Hunter B15 to see the issue. They go to some place called the Temporal Loom, which OB says is the heart of the TVA. It's where raw time is refined into a physical timeline. With all these new branches of time, though, it's overheating. Everything is slowly melting down, and OB says we need to prune those extra branches. Hunter B15 brings up the fact that if they do that, they're killing thousands of innocent people. So OB says, okay, then I'm going to need to close the blast doors to protect the TVA. That'll give me some time to retrofit it and figure out how to handle all these branches. But when this happens, they're not going to be able to resync Loki. So it's either now or never. And Loki chooses now. OB gives Loki a device, and when this device turns green, he's going to prune himself. With any luck, Mobius, who will be outside the blast doors, will be able to pull Loki to present day, stop the time slipping, and they'll be able to get through this thing. If it doesn't work, though, Loki is going to be lost in time forever. As they're about to go through with this, one of the hunters comes through and mentions how Dox and her crew are raiding the armory, and Loki knows that they must be going after Sylvie. Loki wants to go investigate, but Mobius stops him and says, no, dude, we have one shot at this. So Hunter B15 goes to investigate. Suddenly, Loki time slips. But this time, he time slips to the future. He starts running through the halls of the TVA, and the TVA is about to destruct. When Loki looks at the device that Obi gave him, it's still red. So he knows that he still has time to save the future. Time, though, is running out. Mobius is in position, but his suit is deteriorating away. And after the suit, it's going to be his skin. OB is also threatening to close the blast doors. But Loki in the future, he's just waiting for the A-OK. He's also trying to figure out what's going on, and as he walks down one hallway, he just hears a phone ringing. Then suddenly, someone starts prying the elevator doors open from the inside, and it's Sylvie, who sees Loki and says, there you are. But he doesn't get a chance to respond because time's up, and he has to prune himself. Loki gets pulled back to reality just before the blast doors close. Now, at this point, Hunter B15 has been able to locate Dox and her crew, and she gets concerned because there's a lot of them. And she can't figure out why all of them and all that weaponry is for Sylvie. Now, where is Sylvie? In a branch timeline in 1982 in Oklahoma. She goes to a local McDonald's, and she just soaks all the ambiance in. The stuff that we take for granted. People just chatting, people eating. She just wants to try all of it. Thank you so much for checking out this recap. Please consider subscribing to the channel and subscribing to my Patreon. Hit thumbs up if you liked it. Smash that thumbs down button if you thought it sucked. If you left a comment, I don't get back to you. I usually don't check the comments unless they're like a super comment. Also, if you don't see the next video up on the end screen, not to worry. It'll be up in a day or two.